stuff if I wanted to use it. Or you could use something like Elementor. I'm not really skilled in all that. I just know of it, you know.
So this is, you're saying through Hostinger?
Yeah, through Hostinger.
Handles better. Yeah. If it's giving you N8N that inexpensively, I mean, it's worth it for that alone. That's crazy.
It is crazy, and I'm excited to start something.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. That's newsletters, Hostinger, and go high level. Let's do it. All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. If you were here yesterday, Monday was Q&A day. I don't know if we dealt with many questions. There's a lot more introductions. Today is going to be a vibe coding day where we're going to use GitHub Copilot. We're going to continue with a project that we started that basically is going to create content for a YouTube channel. I know that that's something that people are fairly interested in, and it is a great, if you get it working, a great passive income generator. I know this isn't necessarily what everyone's looking for here, but we just had the holidays. I was visiting family, little kids there. They're watching these YouTube channels. Man, if you figure out the algorithm or the system for a child's YouTube channel, that's just so much money. Like, you'll see some of their videos. I mean, it's not all of them, but some of the videos will have like 3 billion with a B views. Man, if you're making a video that has 3 billion views, especially like the videos don't even look that good. And so that is figuring out the child show passive income generator is incredible. I know when my daughter was little, she would watch nursery rhymes on YouTube. And that's how they get them, is the nursery rhymes. I think that's the gateway drug to YouTube. And some of those would have hundreds of millions of views. And they would just be Itsy Bitsy Spider. Somebody took a version of that and then just animated it. And so we're not going to necessarily do that right now. We are going to use AI to generate at first, voice content based on scripts, and then from there we will add more features as we go. We might take a little bit of a break from it and then come back to it. And then this is basically a project for us to test out using GitHub Copilot. Right now I'm on the free version for it. I think I will at some point when we get a little bit farther down the road, pay for it so that we can use some better AI models and maybe see if there's any difference in what we're getting from that. But really the goal here is to do voice generation from a script, and then from there pulling images that can be put into it from the internet. I want to try to make this first sort of milestone that we get to, the POC, fairly cost effective, so that nobody has an excuse. Your 11 Labs subscription might be like $5 a month. We'll see what else we have to do from there. Maybe we'll stick with just the free version of GitHub Copilot for phase 1. So as I said, there's a version of this that you could build if you wanted to get a YouTube channel just started and getting content out there. You could do it and it wouldn't cost that much. And then from there, we'll start adding bells and whistles. The bells and the whistles are really what costs a lot of money. Being in the bells and whistles industry is a great industry to be in. Okay, we're going to do some intros up top and then get to the GitHub Copilot stuff. Looking at the lists, I'll start from the top. We went from the bottom yesterday. Adam Wayne. Adam Wayne, I feel like you're definitely new to the coaching calls and potentially to AI Profit Boardroom. If you want to turn on your mic and introduce yourself, go for it. Going once, going twice. Okay. Oh. Nope. Buff boys. We don't get many buff boys in here. They turn on the mic. How's it going?
Fine. How are you guys?
I'm doing great. What inspired you to join AI Profit Boardroom in the coaching calls, and what kind of AI are you specifically interested in?
So I've been watching Julian for a long time now. I think I've been watching him for like over a year. And what actually inspired me to join was the way it would just easily code website, the workflow, the way it does it is I find it very, very interesting and fascinating. So just to save me more time, I thought I need to be on this class so that I can learn more.
Yeah, awesome. And then what kind of AI are you specifically interested in? Like, what kind of workflows or use cases are you looking to use AI for?
So mainly content, because I've
Yeah.
got my own series of websites. So it's mainly content,
Okay.
blog post writing, and also, so mainly that. That is what I'm actually interested in doing. But hey, every knowledge is knowledge. I'll still watch this video about YouTube tutorial. Every knowledge is knowledge. So yeah, I'm just here to soak everything in.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think that like between the, coaching calls where we do N8N automations and the vibe coding, solutions, even if it's not necessarily the use case that you're looking for in that moment, you are learning these systems and how to operate them and how AI can help you with them. And then blog post generation is, we're doing this one. We're also going to do one for N8N. We're going to do the newsletter generation. We're going to do another vibe coding project that we're working on that is automatic Instagram commenter, so that it will like pull Instagram posts and then use AI to comment on them. But then the one that's after that is actually going to be blog post generator, vibe coded blog post generator that will pull ideas from the internet, generate a blog post for you, and then auto publish it. And then I have a couple of ideas where, you'll get that initial blog post, and we'll do that as part of POC, but then how can we improve that blog post so that it's better? Can we add images to it, formatting those images to really give you a higher quality blog post?
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Like I said, I'm here to learn. 2026, get to be a better version of myself from last year. So I'm ready to just soak all the knowledge in.
Awesome. Amazing. Yes. I think that's a good goal for all of us for 2026, be a better version of ourselves and to have AI and automation help us.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Some more familiar names, and then
Can I ask you a quick question?
For it.
You mentioned blog posts.
Yeah.
And Gemini has gotten so proficient for free tools. Do you see a full system coming out of the Gemini, harvesting the data from using Gemini and then pushing it through maybe Opal and having Opal deliver it in like a group of emails, like Gmail group or something like that? Do you see that as a closed loop system that could be viable for a blog situation maybe?
It's hard to say, where I don't think it's there now, right? I don't think that and maybe you can, but I at least when we tested out Opal months ago, it did not have an incredible amount of, like, it wasn't like N8N, right? Where like N8N connects to all these different models, all these different APIs, and allows you to have really fine-tuned editing. Opal, I don't feel like was that developed at the time, right? But they do have, like what you're saying, like they have their infrastructure for connecting it to applications that you use is pretty vast, right? Like they have their Google, right? And so, finding information from the internet should be pretty easy for them, right? And then they have Gemini, they have Nano Banana in their image generation systems. They have Gmail, right? And then other things within that system. So like theoretically, they could totally like put together a system for all this stuff, right? But I think that might be, I don't think it's now, but that's got to be what they're pushing for, right? And why they put out something like Opal, even though again, like I don't think that when they put that out, they were expecting that version to compete with N8N. It just really doesn't. But they've got to be envisioning that there is a future where it is much more competitive with N8N. And then if it is, and it has way more of the functionality, then they can really take over because of, as we're saying, they have all that. So it's all there for them. It's just putting all the pieces together.
Yeah.
And then are they interested in that, right? Because like if you see, there are aspects of all these AI companies where it's like, oh, why don't they just do this? Why don't they do that? I think, well, like there's a lot. Right? There's a lot, like they have shiny object syndrome themselves, right? And all the different things that they're developing. and what do they prioritize? What do they think, is going to make the biggest impact, right? Is upgrading their workflow generation going to be a bigger deal than a Nano Banana version 3, right? So, but I think that functionally, yes, they could close the loop on everything if they wanted to. But that's also true, again, like if OpenAI, they're also, right, they're trying to get into workflow generation. And, around the same time that Google put out Opal, or was promoting it, they had Agent Builder, I think it's called. And so the same type of thing where people, when they first came out, they were saying, oh, this is going to put N8N out of business. And pretty quickly it was like, well, if you want to do anything in Agent Builder, you actually have to connect it to N8N. And so it's not really going to put it out of business. But you could see how there is a future where ChatGPT is currently way more popular than N8N, right? It's possibly like 100 times more popular. And if they really pushed it and developed an ecosystem similar to N8N, they would crush N8N if they wanted to. But it's just like, what are they focused on? And I think that OpenAI, is possibly more focused on partnerships and figuring out the in-app purchase thing. Like they want to figure out their economy and how to make themselves economic, and having people buy products and services through ChatGPT, I can imagine is probably much higher on their list of things to do, just because they have the audience and then they need to start generating a profit. Like all these companies, AI sounds great. I think they're all operating at a loss. ChatGPT, I feel like for sure, like they are, there's no way they're charging people enough for their API or for their services. Their subscriptions.
Yeah,
Cool.
well, he's talking about the bubble with the overextension on data.
Oh yeah, and it's the bubble is definitely. I mean, it's growing, right? There is and it's just like, how strong is that bubble? Is it for sure going to burst? I mean, I definitely think so, but it's probably going to be also external factors are going to be involved, right? Like if I think everybody is both like over leveraged on investing in AI, and then, we've said it before, like there's a huge issue with actually using AI in a productive way. And that's an issue that we all have. It's an issue that major companies have, right? Again, I'll say it for 100th time on these calls, but like maybe the second or third time today, shiny object syndrome just gets everybody. And even a huge company like Disney, right? Or NBC, like the banking systems, US Bank, any of these companies, their ability to make good decisions on how to leverage AI and how to build AI systems that are effective and will benefit their employees and their customers is really, really difficult. I don't think they realize how difficult that is. And so that combined with, again, a bunch of people on this call and people like us are using these AI tools, but if you're spending way too much time, being overwhelmed and chasing the next new AI solution, and you're not actually, using it to be more productive, then it's a fun hobby, but it's not doing what a lot of us wanted to do, which is make us into, as Buff Boys said, a better version of ourselves, right? Like, how do we have AI and automation actually working for us instead of being a hobby that we hang out with? And again, this is a problem all throughout AI. And if it doesn't start getting a little bit more solved, then the bubble will most likely burst at some point.
Good analogy.
Cool. All right, Renee. Renee, are you new to the coaching calls and potentially AI Profit Boardroom? You can turn on your mic if you'd like, or I can move on to somebody else. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, I'll see about Sana Agents. Are you new? Might just be an agent, or
I'm new. Yes.
Oh, okay. Hey, Willie.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Don't know if I can I don't know how it really works. Just
Go for
about
it.
2 minutes
Go
ago.
for it.
Okay, cool. All right, perfect. All right. So the question I have is what I'm kind of stuck on. Super novice in terms of like getting into work. I own a party rental company in Southern California. We're called Party on Demand. We're focusing on a very niche situation called backyard movie nights. So I've been playing with Lovable specifically before I joined the platform. And so I've been using ChatGPT and Lovable to put the prompts in ChatGPT, create them in ChatGPT, put them in Lovable. They create my landing page, a website for me, which is fine. Problem is the back end. I'm just trying to get my forms to connect to My go high level really is the challenge. I'm not technical like that, so that's been the challenge. So I don't know if you know of any tools, websites, tutorials. The ones that kind of find are like very skittish in terms of like the exact prompts or things I need to do in order to connect the form to my go high level. Because I don't want to use the lovable backend database, if that makes sense. And I'm just trying to create a landing page with a form via lovable and connect that form to my go high level.
So I don't use Lovable or Go High Level. So that's
Okay.
somebody else on the call may be a Go High Level Lovable user. I have some general advice for you. One is I guess you've asked ChatGPT how to help you with this.
Yeah, I have, to a point where it doesn't really, kind of a dead end, unfortunately.
Have you tried Claude yet?
So no, I've only tried Claude. It's just a lot. I have tried Claude with like 3 prompts, but I haven't, not as nowhere near the uses of ChatGPT. So I probably should.
So for any technical issue, I would go to Claude first. So if you see other people are nodding their head right now. So like Claude. So Claude is better for you for technical reasoning, logic-based stuff. ChatGPT will come out with a new version, like their 5.2 that they're on now, and they're like, oh, like this, is better than Claude. And then you use it, and you're like, nope, still not better than Claude. So anything that has to do with coding, connecting things, anything like that, I would go to Claude first. Claude Opus 4.5 is going to be better for you. And then at times, and then from there, I'd also say, and this is going to kind of totally circumvent what you're doing, but like the other thing you could do, and it looks like maybe somebody has something to throw out there. Martin has a suggestion for you. Before I'll let Martin throw something out, I would have actually created the landing page in Claude. And then it would have been a lot easier to do. So the solution I do I used to do web development, web design a long time ago. Best solution that I think is out there to do these things is there are website template websites that will sell you a website template, right? Or a landing page template or something like that. It's pretty inexpensive. Like you can buy them for like $8 for an entire website. They'll sell it to you for like $20 or $30, things like that.
Are you talking like Envato, like the Envato market?
Yeah.
All right.
So you could buy one of those and then have Claude change that for you.
Really?
Yeah. And then give it the code and be like, here, update this for me, do this for me, do this for me. That is the way I would do it. There's possibly other better ways. And the reason why I like that is starting a landing page or a website from scratch in Claude is not going to give you the best looking web page out there. But if you get a template, those templates can be as good looking as any web page in the entire world. Like you'll start to notice like, oh, I've seen that web page before, or I've seen that web page before. So they have really, really nice websites. And then if you have that as a starting point, then Claude can take that, and then it has all the design elements and everything in there. It will change all the text for you, set up so that you can update the images. It's a little bit more work potentially, but then if you're having all these troubles with Lovable, Go High Level, all those different things, then this is a more flexible and maybe not user friendly, but like will give you more hands-on control in what you're doing.
Copy that. Because we bought a template off Envato. So currently, and again, I didn't do it myself, but what we did was we got the template off of, partyondemand.com, which is our website, is on a WordPress template that we bought off of Envato. And so what I was trying to just circumvent, and because instead of going through WordPress itself, was create a landing page and do like just a couple like marketing campaigns, like New Year's Eve, this and third, but just with a form. Technically, I wanted to do a checkout, but that's not working. But I hear what you're saying. Hey, Will, try to grab an Envato template, maybe even my own template that I have right now, take that code, put it into Claude, and be able to update it from there. And then Claude can spit me out would it be a WordPress website at that point, or
so WordPress is, you can choose a WordPress site or you can have it be an HTML site, right? Like those are your different options. And then if you look in the chat, Adam put you will need to connect Lovable to a middle app like N8N, then go to High Level, or just use the High Level templates. So that's also an option for you. That is, I think, one of the things that you're running into, Willie, is an issue that all of us are going to run into. Everybody's going to start getting into these things. There's a lot of options out there, and which one is the right one for you, right? Like I keep on pushing it. Some of the stuff that people want to do in N8N, it's like, no, you should actually just vibe code it, and it's like use something like GitHub Copilot or something like that, and it'll actually possibly go faster for you for that specific use case, whatever you're doing. Or even something like this, where a lot of these no-code solutions sound great until they don't have support for them, essentially, right? And that's what you start to run into when you're using things like Lovable, like when you're using N8N. Whereas if you get a little bit more vibe coding experience, which is a bit uncomfortable at first, I'll tell you, like it is not going to be as smooth. But the LLMs are much better at solving problems for HTML tasks, for Python tasks, for things like that. And so it does become one of these things where it's like, well, this, some of these no-code solutions can be easier for you to visualize and to start to get your feet wet. But then once you start running into issues, then they become much worse than if you're using vibe-coded HTML Python solutions or something like that.
Okay. That makes sense because I was trying to avoid going through the Python.
Well, this isn't a Python thing. This would be HTML, or again, like this could be a WordPress. But I would, like it is going to be a bit more technical to do it this way. And again, like there are other options, as people are saying on here. You can just use the Go High Level templates, and once you start connecting Lovable through N8N to Go High Level, you're starting to get a little bit more complicated anyway.
Yes,
so,
it becomes a little more technical, but you can make it happen. So
right.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. That was a big help. So I'll start looking. I was trying to avoid N8N because it did look a little more technical than I wanted to be, but I'm gonna start. I'll ask Claude to give me a tutorial, create me a course how to become an N8N expert.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I would say, if you're doing any of these technical things that you're doing, you may need a subscription to Claude just because you're going to start using it more. But this is the way forward, is to use Claude to help you with any of this stuff over. I still use ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT for a lot of like creative things or content generation, stuff like that. Every time I try to dip back in and have ChatGPT work with me on coding or like website stuff, I just gotta go back to Claude. Like it's so much smoother on Claude.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. Thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
Well, this is the way, like the Mandalorian.
This is the way. Okay.
Thanks. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Yasmin. Yasmin, are you new, or did we already introduce you recently?
Sorry, I am new. Yeah. What were the prompts? Sorry for introducing.
My question is, so what brought you here, and what inspired you to join the coaching calls, and then what kind of AI or automation are you specifically interested in?
I was watching the, free YouTube stuff. So I have a couple different companies, but the one I was really, watching the YouTube videos for is my threat intelligence company. And I basically build threat intelligence programs for, other companies and whatnot. And I've been using a lot of Notion. But then since I started watching the videos, I'm like, man, there's so much more that I could do. And, the more I watched, the more I was like, I could totally vibe code, so much. And so I started vibe coding, and I've created I think 4 apps. Okay. I'm about to hopefully push one to the Apple store soon. I just got my Apple developer, whatever, to do that. Yeah, and that's the main reason. But another big reason is the SEO part. So I'm very good at technical stuff. But, I've been working in a field where you don't talk to people. And I've been doing that for 20 years. And so I'm not good at getting my stuff out there. So I've been watching all the SEO stuff to try to help me with that. And that's my biggest weakness. And so that's really where I'm hoping to get, I guess, the most knowledge is just how to get my brand and stuff in front of more people, because I'm definitely not a salesperson. So yeah.
Bunch of different topics. You sound like you're on the Sean Mark system. You're getting 4 apps ready. He's trying to do his 30 apps. But this idea that, get more apps and figure out which one is going to hit. You brought up SEO. I don't know if you're familiar that there's now AEO. right?
Yeah,
And so
and
it's not
AI.
about, yeah, whatever acronym they're going, that's going to
Yeah.
finally win out in the battle. But like, getting things, getting your content so that it shows up. But then, we had a community member who was on here yesterday, and he kind of brought up this general topic that he was saying that, he was great at what he was doing, but without marketing, he wasn't getting clients, right? And so what he was doing, to increase his SEO, and I think also, engagement, was he had built something in either N8N or whatever, where he was putting up 45 blog posts a month,
What?
and again, like, so one of our, it might be a few weeks now, but we are going to do a vibe coded blog generation system. Or again, you probably just start trying it out yourself. Like I would, if anybody doesn't want to wait for me to get to the vibe coded blog generation thing, do essentially what I'm going to do, which is just ask Claude, walk it through everything you're looking for, set up the vibe coding system, and you could probably get it done in a few hours if you're really interested in getting your own blog generator going. And then
Does it post
also,
for you, or do you have to still post?
Yeah, it'll post for you.
What? Okay, because I think that's where my major hang up is right now. When I'm watching all the videos and stuff, I'm like, but how do I have to actually go then copy paste it, or is it?
Well, I mean, I realize the copy paste that is going to just destroy the whole system. But no, I mean, you can do auto posting, and it just depends on, what your blog publishing platform is. They might charge you to have API access, which is really all you need. Is once you have API access to your blog publishing platform, then from there, like, you can set it up. I would, again, potentially initially still, I like, for any of these workflows, I like to do them in stages, essentially, where it's like, stay human in the loop for a lot of it initially. I wouldn't necessarily allow this to auto post my blog top unless it was something where I didn't have an audience yet, and it was just like, kind of what I'm going to do today with the YouTube channel stuff is I just need to get content out there. So it's like, auto post it if you want. No one's reading this blog currently. I just need to get content up, and it's basically right. So you're good. And then allow it to just, publish 1 or 2 blog posts a day. You don't want to do 45 blog posts in one day. You definitely want.
Yeah, that's a bit spammy.
Is exactly spammy, right? It's not what you want for SEO purposes. But yeah, I think that, blog posting, and then the other one, which is, we're going to work on this on Friday, the Instagram auto commenter. And this is really useful. So this one's for Instagram, although, basically this is based on one that I did for LinkedIn. And I highly suggest, taking what I'm doing in the Instagram one, and then if you're looking to build professional sort of, connections or get yourself out there, I feel like the LinkedIn auto post commenter is a great solution, and was working for me when I needed it too. Because like, your LinkedIn, you could do one that does automatic posting for you. But it's the same type of thing where it's like, on LinkedIn, you should maybe post 2 or 3 times a day. You don't really need to be posting that much. You'll start to get spammy. And if you're only going to be posting 2 or 3 times a day, you don't necessarily need to have that automatically happen. Once you maybe get up, if you're doing it enough and you just really feel like it, you could just vibe code out a solution for that to auto post. But really, it is the commenting, because commenting, you could get up to it where you're doing 50 comments a day. I wouldn't start with 50 comments a day, maybe start with 10 to 20, but like 50 comments a day is probably a decent amount that you could be doing. That is going to take hours. If you're doing 50 good, engaging comments a day on people's LinkedIn posts, that will take hours and is worth, creating some sort of solution for it. And that is a great way to connect with people, connect with other companies and things like that. Because one is that, if you post something, nobody really cares. I mean, like that's like the truth of it. And you'll see, they'll show you your engagement numbers, and it's like, wow, most people didn't even see this post I did. If you comment on somebody else's post, they're definitely going to see that. And that can spark something where it's like somebody posts something about, risk, right? And your AI comment generator will be like, oh, we ran into a similar issue with one of our clients before, we figured out a way to mitigate risk. Something like that, obviously would sound better, but that can generate you leads. And then you'll also notice when you do LinkedIn comments, it'll also tell you the engagement on your comments. And you can notice that there's like 100 to 1,000 times more not engagement, but impressions on your comments than there are your actual posts. And so, yes, for everybody, again, we're going to be doing the Instagram comment generator, but social media comment generation on the platform of your choice, I highly suggest. And I do think that this is something that should be automated because it can take you hours once you're up and going. Yes, Jean-Marc.
Yes, I was impressed from what you are saying because for productivity, it's huge. But I was thinking, is not a risk for LinkedIn?
Okay, yes, okay.
They ban you?
Okay, yes. So I should mention that for all this. So there is two things here. I think that there is a LinkedIn API service that you can use and you can pay for. That will allow you to do some of this stuff. I know that I think Twitter at least allows you to do this. Is this possibly bannable? Yes. Are there things you can do to keep yourself from getting banned? Also, yes. And so when I did this, I started with, I have for a lot of these social media platforms, I have a dummy account that I use for testing purposes or for figuring things out, right? And so I initially built it through the dummy account and had it operating there, and then allowed that basically 2 weeks of lead time on everything, so that if this was a problem, the dummy account would get banned first, and that would be like the canary in the coal mine type of situation where I would have a warning that this was a problem. Can it get banned? Yes, but then also it is the way that you're doing it that can really keep you from getting banned, right? There are things that you can do where it's like, one is you can run these web browsers either headless or with an actual web browser. And so what I mean by that, for people who don't realize, is that through the code, you could just interact with web pages without actually using your web browser, right? Because everything is just code at a certain point. But when you actually have your code create or start up a web browser and use the web browser, that's one way of making it think you're a real person, right? Because a real person uses a web browser, and AI automation is just going to do it through code, right? So you have it actually set up a web browser, and then you make it so that the both the typing and the mouse movements are non-uniform, right? So it does randomize mouse movements. It does randomize typing. And then you don't spam it, right? You don't start off by doing 100 comments, 1,000 comments a day or something like that. You're not running it 24/7. You're running it, again, when I first started, I would do 10 comments a day. And then I built it up to 50 comments a day. And then your comments make sense, right? Where you are doing comments that make sense and that are engaging with people. And then also, this was on a LinkedIn account that I was actually also using. And so there was enough of my actual human use of it, enough where the AI was simulating a human, where it becomes almost, it's impossible for them to know that you're not a human at that point, right? That how would it even know that you're using AI to do any of this stuff if you're mimicking human use completely? But you are right that you'll probably get a warning first before anything. But if you design this system terribly and you spam out comments or posts without using any of the suggestions on how to mask that this is AI, you will get banned. You're correct with that.
And so your advice is it's more to comment than creating posts?
What I was doing was I was using the automation to do the commenting because that was more time consuming. Right? Commenting 50 times, especially, so I was commenting on people's AI posts, right? And just coming up with a clever, useful, insightful AI, comment for everybody's posts, and then finding the posts, respond, it would take hours and hours and hours. I started doing it initially even having AI help me write comments for the post. And as I was doing, it's like, dude, this is going to take too long. And then so I just built an automated system to do it.
And is it safer to take on-the-shelf tool available?
I don't know. I know that what I built was safe and did not have issues with it at all. They never sent me a warning. There's never any issue with anything. But I can't speak to what people have off the shelf, but you can vibe code out the entire thing through Python, and it'll just work. And like on Friday, I'll be doing the Instagram version. So you'll see, I'll do a review on how it got started and where it's at, and like some of the different, because there is different techniques that you need to use for this that you don't run into with other vibe coding issues, which is essentially what you want it to do is you want it to interact with their website. And so it needs to be able to click on buttons and be able to find different elements on the website. That is challenging at times. Like this is one of the other things that they do is they try to mask where the buttons are or where the text is for the posts or the username or anything like that. But there are solutions for everything, right? And so I go through how to do that as well. But that is, if you try to do this, for anybody who's like, here's this, and they're like, I'm not even waiting for Friday. I want to start building my own, whatever social media platform, comment generator, this sounds great. What you will run into very quickly is that it is having trouble finding the buttons or finding the content of the post that you want. And that is generating issues. But again, there are solutions for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep. All right. Let me get at least a little bit of time. I've definitely ran over for going over GitHub stuff today, but we'll at least take a look and do an intro for people who have not seen any of this so far. All right. So I am sharing screen. Okay. And so for those who are getting brand new to vibe coding, this is my IDE. Basically, this is my program that I use to code in. This is Visual Studio Code. I would suggest this or PyCharm, especially if you're doing a lot of Python-based stuff. Those are probably, there might be something else that is more popular. These are like two of the most popular IDEs out there. I have a lot of support for them. Because you're now in the coding world, things can get, so I'm on the spectrum, and so I'll just throw it out there. A lot of this stuff was built for people on the spectrum. It's just a really quick way of saying it, and can be a little bit difficult to make your way through. At times it cannot be super user-friendly, or the docs are a little bit tough, and so you may be running into that. But an LLM will help you through all this different stuff, right? And so once you have this, you will have to go over to this guy here, the extensions, right? And so you see that like I have a bunch of different extensions that are installed already, and these are for a variety of different things. But like you can see on here, like Python, right? So like if you're wondering, it's like, oh, I got I got this set up and I don't even have Python on here. It's like, yeah, like you may need to download Python. You may need to install the extension. Sometimes it gets wonky and goes bad on you and you have to connect the path again. But again, like LLMs, especially Claude, is a great solution for any of these problems that you may run into. But for us, one of the ones that you need is GitHub Copilot. And that's this guy over here. Or gal, I guess GitHub Copilot could be whatever you want. And so to do this, though, you will also need to have a GitHub account. And always the three things that you should try out is you should get a GitHub account, you should get a Hugging Face account, and you should try out Google Colab at some point in time. Those are the three that I highly suggest people try out. GitHub has gives you the ability to get control on your projects. It has GitHub Copilot, but also there's a lot of GitHub repos, which are basically software that people have posted on there and that you can download and put into your application. Hugging Face has an incredible number of open source AI models. So anything that's out there is an API, LLMs, VLMs, image generators, video generators, text to voice, voice to text, any of these different things, there is a Hugging Face version of it, or between Hugging Face and GitHub, somebody has and usually both, an open source version of what you're looking for. Okay, so I have the GitHub Copilot extension. Right now, I have this directory that I'm in. And essentially what we started with is you have these different, thank you, Aaron, for pointing this out to me, these different versions of how you can run your GitHub Copilot. So you can do plan, you can do agent, you can do ask, you can do edit, right? So start off with plan. And this is how I suggest you do it. Even if you're not going to do GitHub Copilot, this is good vibe coding 101. How to vibe code is just first start with the planning phase. And too often, because we now have keys to Ferraris, we basically have the ability to code any application we want, whereas it used to be extremely difficult before. We just hit the gas and try to go as fast as we can and then crash, right? It is best to do a plan first and to lay out your ideas and have some back and forth. I like that, within this system, they do give you this specific back and forth that you're supposed to go over with it, but this is what you should do if you're using Claude, right? If you're gonna have Claude do your coding for you, first tell it what you want, and then with Claude, I do have a little bit more of a conversation with it where I ask it, like, what are the issues with what I'm doing, make suggestions, things like that. With this, I'm being a little bit more to the point, but maybe I should be asking it more questions. But essentially, I told it, I want this YouTube content generator. So I give it the overall concept, right? And then what I want to do first, right? So first, we'll have a script generator that generates scripts using the OpenAI API for 11 labs to generate a voice file from. Script generator will take a concept and generate scripts from that, and then another portion will add SSM. It's supposed to be SSML tags. As we build it out, we'll add images from the internet collection and possibly AI editing. In the future, it would also support content. So right now, I just wanted to focus on this script to voice generation. And then once we have that, I would add an aspect where essentially what I wanted to do is have a way for us to do, or to pull images from the internet, right? So like kind of like if you do a Google search, you did a Google search for images, just automate that process, have it download a bunch of images, and then I'm just going to have it drop those images on a timeline with the audio. Again, not the most exquisite looking system, but it will generate video content for you, right? And if you wanted to just get your channel off the ground, start posting these and then make them better and better and better as you go, but no excuses as to why you can't have your own. I think that we view, the content that Julian puts out, and it's like, well, here, if I'm not doing that, then I shouldn't post anything. It's like, no, if you're not doing that, start posting, start getting something out there, and like figuring all this stuff out, figuring out all these different issues, and then from there, make it bigger and better as you go. And then as I tell it, like, hey, we're going to do AI avatar, AI video generation, things like that. For now, we're going to focus on the script and the voice generation. And so then it starts to put together this plan, right? It's going to create folders. And then the last thing, I really think that this is a good idea to explain. You want it to be provider agnostic, lean, and dry. And essentially what that means is provider agnostic, you can or cannot do, I think when you're at the earlier phase, I like to build a lot of my things, especially something like this that relies on different AI models to operate, is making it provider agnostic. What that means is that it makes it so that right now I'm going to set it up for the OpenAI API, right? But that the way it's building it, it has abstracted away that connection so that if I want to switch from the OpenAI API to the Claude API or the Gemini API, it's very easy for me to switch those out. And then the same thing is going to happen with 11 Labs or the image generation or any of the other AI services that I'm going to add to this. I make it so that they have their own sort of Python file that interacts with the API. And then I have another file that interacts with that file. Then if I want, I can just create a new Python file to interact with a different API, and it should connect to the rest of my system very easy without having to update everything else. And then lean and dry, those are just basically telling it, there's other things I should put in here, like it should have good debugging, it should have good logging. Those are other things I would suggest adding to the directions, although it is probably going to do debugging and logging for you anyway. Anyway, so then it creates this plan, it has these different steps, and so it's going to create the folder structure. As you see here, part of what it's doing is doing these providers and these services. This is based on the fact that I want to do the provider agnostics solution. It's going to have the provider interface, provider adapters. So it's very interested in getting this provider stuff. And then the orchestrator, which is going to handle all these different services that we have. So we'll have like a service for script generation. We'll have a service for voice generation, and things like that. And then it's going to have a config file. So this is, again, like, there is 2 different levels, I think, of putting these 5 coded projects together. One is to do one for like yourself, and can be a little bit simpler. I wouldn't necessarily go into all of this. If you're doing one for yourself and it has a very simple use case, it's not that large of a project. These are the type of things, if you want to build something that's robust, that you can build on top of, that's going to have a lot of different systems to it, and different models that it uses, I would suggest doing something like this. Or if you are building something for a client, so maybe don't vibe code your first project as something for a client, but as you start to want to do bigger and larger projects, this is the type of architecture you're going to be looking at. So this will ask me these questions about language and runtime. So it's going to ask you these questions, and you should give it feedback. I wanted to do Python. I should have said this at the top, that this is a Python project. Typically I do. Focus steps 1 and 2, then implement OpenAI and OpenApps adapters. Configuration approach, use env files only, or JSON to configure. So I gave it the responses to that. Then it had these steps, and it had these further questions. So I do want to use pedantic. 1, pedantic. 2, we'll do defer for now, just because I don't want it to be too complicated, and be flexible. And so it's gonna keep thinking. Okay, man. So stuff like this, type hints, it's really getting into it now. I think part of that is me using language about how I want this to be done. Create exceptions pie with provider-specific exception classes now. Minimal, where obvious, and 2, waiting for service layer. I don't want this to just get going. Oh my god. YCG, and 2. Okay, and start implementation. So you see, as soon as I clicked start implementation, so this switched from plan to agent. And basically, could have essentially just done this myself, just switched this to agent and then told it to start implementation, right? But now it is going to build everything in my IDE. And as you can see here, it's starting to do it. So initially, not much is in here. Oh, okay. So it's just building out the folder structure. Boom. And let's see. Okay. And already starting to work on some of the folders and files. Script provider, and is just going to kind of work on this. One thing I'll do between now and the next time we work on this is going to create an env file for those of you who are not familiar. Env is your environment variables. Typically, this is where you put your API keys, but there's other things that you can set in here that are basically things that are system-wide variables that are going to be used throughout the system that you want to have be the same. And the env just gives you a way of choosing it. Another thing that you can do potentially with the env, they love to do env example. I don't know, I should probably look into this. Why does env example instead of just gives you an env? I think I've said this before, because in the env example, I can always just have, and I can go back to if I need it, theoretically. But as you see, for this one, it is using both the API keys, right? So I have to put my 11 Labs and my OpenAI API key in here. I'm going to copy this just so everyone sees this. I'm going to create or save this as file, save as. Yeah, and then I'm just going to make it not an example. And then boom. And then this is the one I'm going to change this before our next coaching call. Two things. One, it has the API, this spot for putting my API keys so that I can run these services. But then also this part where it's a script provider and voice provider. So if I have this, set up for OpenAI, Gemini, Claude, if I have all of this set up for these different providers, eventually I'll need the Claude API key. I'll need the Gemini API key, whatever it is, right? But then here is where I could just switch it, where I could switch this to Claude, and then it would just start using Claude as the LLM instead of whatever. And the same thing here. If I had another service besides 11 Labs, I could change out the voice provider, and then that would propagate throughout the entire project. This provider knows implemented interfaces dry. Okay. And so then it has gotten pretty far. Our coaching call is up for now, but the next time we will start to see more of this. So this built out our architecture, and then it'll actually build in some of the actual useful pieces. As I said, I will populate this with actual API keys, and then we'll be up and running. But this is how easy it is to get things started with GitHub Copilot. Again, highly suggest everybody get a GitHub account and a Hugging Face account, and this will come free once you install the extension. Give it a try for some of your vibe coding solutions. Have a good one, everybody, and I will see you next time.